Hello and welcome to New Junction. You join me on the November update. It's been long overdue, that's for sure. I think the last one was in February. Right, so what's happened? I suppose to start, there's been quite a few new additions, so I'll run you through those as we go past them. The first of which is about to whiz past me now. It's my Grand Central HST. I was only thinking the other day, why haven't I done a video on it? But it's on the same loop as my Virgin liveried HST, so it sort of plays second fiddle really. That was followed by, for my birthday, I was treated to by my other half to this Bachmann Sound 66 in EWS livery. I've recently just put a video of that, so you're probably sick to death of seeing that on this layout. To follow that, we have some load haul 80-ton bolster wagons, which I'm using as track wagons. So that's a train where the collection is slowly building. Top tip of as I've discovered, this is an old livery on these wagons, and you see them brand new for maybe £15. It's got load haul on the side. I don't know if you can quite see that little white square. So they're about £15 in that livery, whereas if you get them in the 2017 liveries, I think they're just red and yellow. I think they're £24. So a £10 difference per wagon when you've got aspirations of big trains makes all the difference. So it's well worth doing some research when looking into new freight. I suppose if you're really bothered, I mean, some of you are quite very talented with your modelling abilities, you could change that quite easily, I'd imagine. But for me, it doesn't bother me in the slightest, so works a treat. I'm saving some money. That adds to the New Junction scene. You could say we've been waiting since February for track to arrive. Although looking at it, it's the old track leaving. So we always try and create realism when modelling, and I think I'm doing pretty well at working to a network rail schedule. Flame me in the comments below over that one. Right, moving on. Generally, scenic wise, that end, not a lot has changed. I should zoom you back in. I'm actually quite happy with that. You can always add to things, but I'm very content with that. Just that scene there, very content. There's a few more details I'd like to add, but no, I'm quite happy. Another one since the last update with my automatic signals. They run completely automatically off I think they're laser sensors in the track just behind the signal. We'll have a quick look at. So you can see the two sensors there. So as the train passes over, it changes the signal and they go through a cycle. I think they were Heathcote Electronics 4-aspect signals, and I've got them set so they'll change back to I suppose green just before the next train arrives, although that one seems to have gone pretty quick. I'm glad they're working on camera. But to be honest, I've not really had any problems with them, and they really do bring a section to life, because even when there's no locomotives there, it sort of adds an element of life to a scene, and I'm easily probably the best addition I've yet to make to a single point on my layout. I'm really happy with that. Right, you may have seen in one of my few videos since the last update was my new Hillside Scenery in the background there. As you all know, New Junction is a very green layout. I really like my scenery, and we've tarted up the hill, bring a bit of life to it by adding some bushes. The green tones I've noticed on the camera don't really pick up very well, so it does look like one colour, but in the flesh it looks quite good, if I do say so myself, and adds certain level of realism to a layout, and adds a bit of depth as well from the distance, which I'm really happy with. Just adds a nice backdrop when the trains go by, which I think is really quite cool. Right, where were we? Right, another new addition to the layout is, you've probably seen, my Hornby Tts Flying Scotsman. I did have this model in the non-TTS version. I actually sold that so I could have this one, because it is nice to be able to have the option where possible. So we'll be seeing more of that one in a running session soon. You will notice I've sold off a lot of my stock, so I did have 2 Class 20s, 2 Class 37s, amongst other things. Last year at Warley, I was quite chuffed with what was coming out, and I wanted to hone my stock because the option was there. Little did I know that the release dates for certain trains and things would be pushed back and back and back and back, and now we're a year on and a lot of it still isn't out. So me trying to be efficient, sold all the my excess engines, which were a bit hit and miss whether I should have them or not, to try and raise a bit of pocket money to pay for these pre-orders I've put in, and then they weren't released, so it was a bit of a bummer really. So I've only just got my Flying Scotsman and my a Black 5 and that Class 66, but before that the layout was a bit lonely, to be honest, because I'd sold all my engines. Well, not all of them, but some of them. This side, this field next to the heritage layout, that was a query on the last update of what to do with it. As you can see, I've just put some hay bales there for now. I think it was, I can't remember who this was by. It was a kit by someone. What I'm going to do is put some sort of hay coloured static grass down, and to make it look like a freshly ploughed hayfield, and leave it at that, to be honest, just to sort of finish it up a little bit more than just the generic green, which is quite green down here. This tunnel mouth I'm leaving for now, because I'm going to move on to the opposite side of the layout. I've always had big problems with this layout, because if I show you this aerial view, the scenic side is very sweeping in terms of its curvature. So the big trains, they hardly kink, they run extremely smooth. I think it's a 60-inch curve, that one, and you can hardly see it. And I'll show you with this HST what happens when it comes behind the scenes. So it goes behind the scenes, and then you go to set track. Now, normally set track's absolutely fine, no problem at all. The problem is when you have half your train, because I do like longer trains, and that was the whole point of New Junction, and having these smoother curves, so you could actually have longer trains, and they look relatively realistic, is when half the train is on the lines here, and then the front half starts to drag around it, a lot of them derail off these corners. So I really needed to tackle this. It's been a long-standing issue I've had, and I've just got it so that the 3 lines where you see the 2 running now, they work fine. Everything else is too tight for a decent length train. So what we're going to do, to see the reduced fleet, while I'm here, that's the new Hornby TTS Black 5, which is doing rail tours at New Junction. What I'm going to do, if I show you this way, just re-prop up the camera. as you can see, this is my freight yard. These battens here, the gap there is about 12 inches. A genuine 12 inches, not a man's 12 inches. I'm going to extend that way. I'm going to have my freight yard push it up and over, smooth out the corners, maybe not to 60 inches like the scenic half, but I'm going to smooth out the corners and have my freight yard behind the scenes. This newly acquired space that I will gain, I'll put a scenic board up, and I'm going to start on this side, make a start on this side. Going to try and be a bit more of an urban environment, possibly a station. It's looking like a station, and hopefully that'll tackle a lot of issues that I'm having, and also give me something to do over winter and to keep providing you with videos, because as of course now it's colder, I'll be in the loft a bit more than out and about enjoying the sun. So yeah, that's the big area of improvement, is this fiddle yard. So that's probably going to be my next mini series, is just expanding this, moving on the track, relaying the track, and getting a baseboard ready. Unfortunately, I was probably, I can't remember, I think a month, 2 months into New Junction, so I didn't actually film. Sorry, I was a month, 2 months into New Junction before I started YouTubing, and I was probably, scenic-wise, up to here. Not as detailed, but up to sort of the halfway point before I actually started. So I didn't get to show everyone how I did my baseboards and backgrounds and whatnot. So it'd be very, from my point of view, it'd be quite interesting to be able to show that to people. On that basis. Right, that's I think I've covered everything now. Yes. Right, so videos will be more regular now because it's colder and I'm back indoors, and the other half is allowing me back in the loft. So I'm going to say thank you for watching. This video will be followed by a running session, so that'll be the next video to come along, and we'll get the newer trains out so you can have a watch of them. But as ever, thank you for watching. If you've got any suggestions for the urban side, feel free to pop them in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you very much for staying tuned. All the best. Bye.